On May 22, 2023, I died from respiratory and heart failure caused by stage 3 sepsis due to an undiagnosed gallstone. Before that, I'd been struggling with a strange illness that caused me to collapse in a grocery store on May 9th and nearly again on May 16th. Both incidents led to emergency room visits, but I was misdiagnosed, partly because a DNA mutation dulled my sensitivity to pain. During my first ER visit on May 9th, I was told my collapse was due to a severe allergic reaction, despite not having consumed anything except a cup of coffee that morning. I found this diagnosis strange, but I was treated for an allergic reaction and sent home. The ER doctor mentioned I might be a hard case to diagnose due to the lack of a clear trigger, which only added to my anxiety about the mystery cause. A week later, I was back in the ER. Although I didn't collapse, I felt similar symptoms: shortness of breath, tingling, dizziness, and nausea. I was again diagnosed with a severe allergic reaction, with no trigger identified. I was given fluids and monitored before being discharged. Over the following week, my condition worsened. A few days after my second ER visit, I believed I'd contracted the flu or COVID, compounding my already puzzling illness. In retrospect, that second visit had been a point of no return. I felt increasingly weak, barely had an appetite, and found it difficult to stay warm. I shivered constantly, bundled up in sweats while the temperature outside was 75 degrees. I lost weight, my vision blurred, and my skin gradually turned from pale to yellow, and finally to a grayish tone. Early on May 22nd, around 4:30 a.m., I woke up feeling something was profoundly wrong. My body felt strange, though my mind was surprisingly calm. I struggled to get out of bed, using the walls for support to reach the bathroom. Once there, I noticed my gray complexion in the mirror and realized I was dragging my right leg. The face staring back at me resembled a corpse. At that moment, I consciously understood I was dying. Yet, I felt no fear or regret, only an unusual peace, as though everything in life had already been left behind. In an instant, I found myself engulfed in a vast, moving darkness. There were no lights or tunnels, just a quiet, dynamic darkness, and then I was suddenly elsewhere. I felt like myself, though I hadn't fully realized I'd passed on. I seemed to see in every direction at once, and though I felt as if I had arms and legs, I couldn't see them. I stood on soft grass between two fog-encircled hills. Everything was muted. The fog formed a barrier, beyond which I sensed something indescribable. When I tried to move, it felt more like floating than walking. An odd sensation of weightlessness that wasn't entirely without weight. On a nearby hill, about 8 feet above me, a man sat on a rock, as if he'd been waiting. Only when I made eye contact with him did I realize I had passed on. He communicated directly into my mind, filling it with everything I needed to know in an instant. I felt a connection, a familiarity with him, although he didn't resemble anyone from my previous life. As he moved down toward me, I began to understand he wasn't human, but rather a being of some other nature. Seeing him felt like reuniting with an old friend whose familiarity went beyond memory. Together, we reviewed my life. I witnessed a series of pivotal moments and felt each one unfold, not just from my perspective, but from those I'd impacted. I saw how interconnected we all are, meant to support one another's journeys. The review wasn't focused on bad behavior, as I understood it, but rather on how I had made others feel, and whether I'd used my gifts to help them. My life review also highlighted two major paths, one being the life I had just lived, and the other, an alternative where I had used my abilities to help others more purposefully. The being presented me with a choice. I could stay in this realm or return to help others. I chose to return, understanding the decision would not be easy. I knew that if I returned, my recovery would be arduous, and my life drastically changed. But the clarity from the life review, and the overwhelming sense of connection and love, guided my choice. The being shared with me profound teachings about reality, connectedness, and perception, all conveyed telepathically. Each insight felt complete, like a full circle of understanding. I was told these teachings would unfold gradually throughout my life, revealing deeper meaning over time. As I processed this, a light appeared, starting small but growing until it enveloped me completely. This light was an intense, golden white, filled with indescribable love. The next thing I knew, I was back in my bathroom, the weight of physical reality pressing heavily on me. The air felt dense and cold, and I shivered uncontrollably. My temperature read 94 degrees Celsius, and everything around me felt surreal. Time was 7:30 a.m., yet I felt as if I had a foot in two worlds, almost as if observing myself from a distance. The following 3 months were a nightmare. Once I was properly diagnosed, it became clear I'd sustained significant organ damage. Doctors expressed disbelief at my survival. I'd lost 30 pounds, my hair thinned, my teeth loosened, and my eyesight weakened. Eating became a struggle. I was too frail to drive, and even walking required immense effort. I slept for up to 18 hours a day, each day dominated by the toll of sepsis. I vividly remembered my experience and the love I'd felt, though I struggled to accept it, dismissing it as a hallucination at first. But over time, as doctors confirmed the odds I'd defied, I began to understand it was too real to have been imagined. Sepsis progresses rapidly, often fatal within hours without immediate treatment, and even with antibiotics, a significant percentage of patients still die. I had gone untreated for 2 weeks, misdiagnosed, and essentially died in my bathroom. More than a year later, I am still recovering, yet the experience has left an indelible mark on every aspect of my life. My spirituality, relationships, career, daily choices, and outlook have all changed profoundly. I now feel an overwhelming compassion and a deep drive to help others. My perspective has shifted to prioritize connection and kindness, and I'm grateful for this experience, as challenging as it was. It has set me on a new path focused on serving others and embracing the interconnectedness of all lives. This story was shared by Anonymous and happened in 2023. Story 2. When I was 20, I was serving an LDS mission in Puerto Rico. One day, while riding our bikes on the roadside to an appointment, I was ahead of my companion when a car suddenly veered off the road and hit me, throwing me into a telephone pole. I remember flying through the air before finding myself outside my body, watching as my limp form was wrapped around the pole. I could hear my bones breaking, but I didn't feel any pain. I observed my companion frantically stopping a car, asking them to call an ambulance. As this unfolded, I felt myself transported away from the accident, entering a tunnel of light that led to a scene of beautiful beings dressed in white, standing near marble walls and a gate. 3 angels stood at the gate. I asked them, "What am I doing here?" They replied, "It is not your time yet." They went on to tell me I was meant to complete my mission, then pursue pre-med to prepare for medical school. When I shared that I wanted to become a seminary teacher and teach about Jesus, they informed me that this wasn't my true path. I had promised to attend medical school to become a doctor. They also said I'd later become an herbalist and an expert in homeopathic and energy medicine. They reassured me that my body would heal, though I'd be sore from the accident, and that I needed to return to fulfill these purposes. Before I left, I asked if there was anything else I should know. They told me that Jesus would always answer my questions, speaking directly to my mind whenever I asked. Suddenly, I woke up under a sheet in the hospital. I threw it off and sat up on the gurney, startling the nurses who began shouting, "Estaba muerte! Estaba muerte! He was dead! He was dead!" I replied, "Soy vivo! Soy vivo! I'm alive! I'm alive!" The nurses insisted I stay put until the doctor arrived. When he did, he told me I shouldn't be moving and requested to re-x-ray me, to which I agreed. As I lay back on the gurney, he took me down to radiology where they took more x-rays. When he compared the new x-rays to those from my arrival, he was astonished. He explained he'd pronounced me dead, with fractures in my right femur, right humerus, neck, and back. Yet now, all my bones appeared intact. He showed me the original and new x-rays side by side, repeatedly saying, "Es un milagro," it's a miracle. My missionary companion arrived at the hospital, expecting to arrange for my body's return to Utah. He was stunned to find me alive and well. Since that experience, I've always been able to hear Jesus' voice when seeking guidance, a connection that endures to this day. I used to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but I now consider myself a spiritual Christian, maintaining contact with ascended masters like Jesus, Mother Mary, Saint Germain, and Serapis Bey. My beliefs are centered on spiritual teachings of love. I practiced as a medical doctor for many years, but now I work as a medical intuitive, devoting my life to helping others, making connections wherever I go, and fully embracing each moment. This story was shared by Anonymous and happened some time ago.